Well, at least for me, it got a little bit annoying to try to write that every time you're typing the name. So I don't know. It was never.
It wasn't grammatically correct.
Well, it was never part of the name to us. It just kind of people started writing it, and then it ended up in more and more things like that. So there
Well,
it was.
we wrote it that way once when we first
Yeah.
started the band, and it just people kept writing it that way. And it was just a freaking whirlwind, man. So,
There was never really a
never really sat
decision to
down.
keep it or drop it. It just kind of went away, right?
Well,
It's not in the website.
yeah, we
address.
never made a big deal of like
yeah.
pulling it off of the name. It was just
When
every
we
time I
started,
write it, I never put an exclamation point in there.
It's
yeah,
a new
when-
beginning.
When we started doing, new promo stuff for this album, we just told everyone, not to use it anymore. So.
Hello fellow emos and welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into a topic that always caused a lot of drama in the scene, and I'm of course talking about Panic at the Disco's numerous name changes. But before we get into that, if you're not already subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button. I post new videos weekly, and as always, MCR5 2024, it is so real, it is so happening. You just gotta sparkle like Bo in the morning sun. Let's go. Before we can get into the name changes, I'm first going to briefly explain who Panic at the Disco are, or I guess were at this point. This will just be very quick as they truly need no introduction. So they originally formed in 2004 in Las Vegas, and they were just a duo to start with. Ryan Ross and Spencer Smith were childhood friends, and the pair initially started playing music together in high school. They were influenced by a mixture of punk music, rock music, and of course emo. They then recruited their classmates Brendan Urie and Brent Wilson to complete their lineup. Fun fact, Brendan wasn't supposed to be the singer, originally it was supposed to be Ryan, and could you imagine how differently things would have been had Ryan remained the singer? Sometimes I lament that.
They had a lead singer at the time.
Right, kinda.
That you ended up replacing, I believe, and his
Right.
name was Ryan or something.
Yeah. Ryan ended up asking me, he ended up asking me, hey, bro. Nah, and like he ended up asking me if I wanted to be the singer, and at the time I was like, yeah, I mean, I'll do whatever you guys ask me to do because this isn't, I joined up with you guys, like whatever you want. I just wanted to play in a band, so I joined as a temporary guitar player just for a couple shows to fill in for their guitar player. And then it worked out so well, they're like, we don't need the old guy back. And then you can just stick around and sing.
Panic started first gaining attention by posting demos on Pure Volume, a popular platform at the time which caught the attention of Fall Out Boy's Pete Wentz. Impressed by their unique sound, Wentz signed them to his label, Decadence Records. Then, in 2005, Panic released their debut album, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, which is an absolute masterpiece and changed the trajectory of the scene forever, let's be honest. The album was bold, theatrical, and it mixed genres, plus the lyrics are genius. I still can't believe that they were so young when they created that album because what the hell? A Fever You Can't Sweat Out was also extremely commercially successful, hitting number 13 on the US Billboard 200 chart, number 11 on the Australian Albums chart, number 15 on the Canadian Albums chart, number 7 on the New Zealand Albums chart, and number 17 on the UK Albums chart. That's not a complete list either, it charted in so many countries, and rightfully so, of course. But where did the name Panic at the Disco actually come from? There's a popular rumour that it came from the Smiths songs Panic, the one where it talks about hanging the DJ. Fans believe they took inspo from the lyrics Burn Down the Disco, however, this isn't true, the name comes from a different source. Roll the clip.
Okay.
And I'm almost embarrassed to ask it, but I
Dude,
thought
you can't
of
be more
when I was
cringe than
listening
me.
to the song the other day.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know how you named your band, right?
Right.
And I was listening to a cover of the song by Morrissey.
Oh, Burn Down the
and it
Disco?
was,
Burn
yeah, and
down the disco.
he talks about like panic.
Panic
and, like,
on the streets of London.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
like, wait, is that like, did he name it after that? Like, I don't know.
Well, one of the guys in the band wanted to name it Burn Down the Disco, which is the lyric in there. But there's another band called Name Taken, and they had a lyric that went, Panic at the Disco. And we were 17. We're like, that sounds dope. So we just made it that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And of course, when the band debuted, there was an exclamation point after Panic. It wasn't Panic at the Disco, it was Panic at the Disco. The exclamation point symbolized the band's early sound and image, in my opinion. Like I said, they were theatrical, vibrant, energetic, and that wasn't just the music either, it was the whole image, a whole production. I guess you could say that they had a flair for the dramatic. But then, in 2008, they decided to drop the exclamation mark, becoming simply Panic at the Disco. The name change matched the release of their second album, Pretty Odd. The change was supposed to signal a shift in their musical style from their earlier, more theatrical vibe to a more classic rock and kind of like a Beatles sound. The album had a distinct 60s rock influence, and this was a completely different vibe from their debut album. I personally love Pretty Odd, so that's not a read or a criticism, it's just a matter of fact. They really switched up their sound, and it was kind of out of nowhere too. Fans were shocked at the name change though. Some of us were just not okay with it. The missing exclamation mark felt like the loss of the band's flamboyant flair. And this made international headlines. And apparently Panic hadn't anticipated the fallout from this, which, you know, I do believe.
You've dropped the exclamation mark.
Ah, yes.
What's this all about?
Get to the bottom of this.
Well, we've been asked about it a lot. Maybe somebody stole it. I don't know.
Because
It was never really a big deal to us, but
Yeah.
I guess we didn't ever realize how big of a deal it was to other kids or other fans that like our band. So we didn't know it was going to cause such a hype. And then when it did, it was just kind of funny. We were just like a little shocked as to why
Sorry.
it was such a big deal. But it was, you know, hey, you know, what can you do? Yeah. I mean, it's gone. It's gone.
You know, it's just the album title had two marks of punctuation, and we decided
That was enough.
the one with
Three's
the
a
name
crowd.
would be. Yeah, exactly.
Three's a crowd.
The band continued without the exclamation mark for a few years, during which the lineup of the band also changed, because in 2009, Ryan Ross and Joel Walker left Panic. This wasn't the first time that the lineup had changed, but it was the most dramatic change to date. Ryan spoke to MTV about the split and said, "It'd been a little while, a few months since we started thinking that this might be the best thing to do. John and I had been writing a bunch of stuff on the road, and it just became clear that when we were off tour that we weren't on the same page. There was a time when we weren't actually really talking to each other, and John and I were just living at my house, continuing to write. Eventually we realized we needed to get past not speaking and figure out what was really going on, so we all sat down and agreed that splitting up was the best move for everyone." He went on to say that the split stemmed from creative differences with Panic frontman Brendan Urie. Urie wanted the band to explore a more polished pop sound, like the demo they posted on their website last week. Meanwhile, Ross and by extension Walker were interested in making retro-inspired rock. This, however, didn't slow the remaining members down because they quickly got back into the studio, albeit with a different lineup, and got to work on their third album, Vices and Virtues, which was released in 2011. The release of that album also signaled the return of the exclamation mark. They were once again Panic at the Disco. The change marked the revival of their original, more flamboyant style, and when asked about the exclamation point being brought back, Brendan said, "I like the exclamation point. I think it's great. I'm bringing it back." And of course the exclamation mark stayed from there on out until the bitter end. I'm not going to go into the end of Panic in this video, but let me know if you want to deep dive into that topic because, wow, what a depressing decline. And that's it. That is all. The saga of the Panic at the Disco name change. What do you think? Do you prefer it with the exclamation point, without? I personally prefer it with, but also I don't really get why this was such a thing in the fandom and why so many news places were covering it, but let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching until the end if you made it this far, and as always, if you have any requests for future topics, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you all next week. Okay, thanks, bye!